Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a great Thursday.
A windy Thursday.
Yeah, windy Thursday. We've been out cleaning up the leftover trash and stuff from the
Fall Fest
Fall
last
Fest
night. My
last
hair
night.
was
So
like a
Children's Church
mess.
wasn't Children's Church. The
Yeah, Fall Fest.
Fall Fest. So again, appreciate all the help
Oh man, it
we
was
had
a
in
great
that.
day.
Had a great turnout, and thank you for everybody's help. And
Yes.
Karen come over early and set stuff up, and Kelly, myself, and Chris was in there helping. And
Yes.
other people didn't come in and help and set up stuff. Had a lot of people come in and
We did.
help
We had a
man
lot
the
of
game.
help.
So
It was
thank you.
so good.
Thank you, guys. We're going to be back in Romans 8 again today, and one of the most misquoted scriptures in the Bible. Or I don't want to say misquoted because they quote it, but they don't. A lot of people don't understand it because I have dealt with this. People come and ask me, "Well, why did God allow this to happen?" He said, "God just going to do good things," and that isn't what this said. In that, it says that yesterday we talked about the Father knows all hearts and what the Spirit is saying. For the Spirit pleads for us believers in harmony with God's own will. I'm going to pick up in verse 28. It says, and we know. So this is something we've got to know. And we know, Paul saying we can know this. It's in some mystery or anything like that. And we know that God. So here we go. Not man, not, well, they call that like you do something bad and it comes, there's a
Karma.
Karma, being bad or good. But God doesn't cause bad things. Notice this. We know that God causes everything to work together for the good. Now, is it good that people are sick? Is it good that people get cancer? Is it good that this, that? No, he didn't say that. He said, but God will cause everything back to work together for the good through the bad circumstance, through the storm, through the bad relationship, through the tough time, tough day, tough week, tough month, tough year. For the good of. Now, here's the condition of this. In order for God to take a bad situation that you're in, whether it's filled with grief or hurt or pain, whatever it is, God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God. Okay, there's the first condition. We've got to love God.
Yes,
and then
with
Jesus
all our
said,
heart.
if you love me, obey me. You show your love for God not just through quitting drugs, quitting drinking, quitting cussing, quitting whatever that
Right.
people think that's going to make God love me more. God loves you on your worst as much as he does. But if you want good to come and you want to show your love back to God, it's through obedience, to doing what he says to do. And in that, sometimes we don't measure up to that. I'm not saying that it's all solely based on that. But for those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. God places a calling and purpose on our lives from the day that we are saved, not from the day that we're born, because God can't work those good things out if we don't love him, if we've not repented from our sin, if we're not walking in him, if we're not his child in that. And we know then that we love him through our obedience, and then we're called according to his purpose for them. Not mom and dad's purpose, grandpa and grandma's church purpose, wife's purpose, husband purpose. And this is why we lose ourselves and we lose our purpose. That's where I've got in trouble. I lost my focus. I lost my purpose about, 7 so years ago when I struggled in a lot of areas of my life when Peter, the man that I worked for 30 years on the ranch, passed suddenly, unexpectedly. Man, I was headed up there to meet him, and we was fixing to open up a feed yard, getting all of our paperwork done, getting all that stuff put together. And I get a phone call from his wife that, man, Peter's down, called an ambulance. It didn't look good. And when I got to the hospital in about 5-10 minutes, wasn't very long, the doctor walked out, and his family, his wife and daughter and myself was there and said, I'm sorry. We've done all we could. And, man, things changed, and I lost my purpose because I had put a lot of my purpose in that, even though I was preaching every Sunday, doing things, and I lost my purpose and hurt because I didn't let God work together for me for the good, and I started taking in all the bad and then battling through some battles there in my personal life and stuff. And so I know how that gets, but I'd lost it. I still had the calling, but God said, and here's something I want you to lock onto. He said his call is irrevocable, meaning he's not going to say, okay, today you get it, tomorrow you don't, next week, and here, do this, do that, pull strings, do. He don't do that. His call is irrevocable. He called us according to his purpose, but we got to know it's his purpose when we stay in that. We got to look for the good, even though bad things happen. Kelly's going through this with Katie, with the breast cancer diagnosis and all of that. But that's just in her flesh, and they can deal with that. The treatment's in her flesh. God's already dealt with it, and God can heal her flesh. God can heal cancer, anything like that. I talked to Travis this morning about Hadley. Hadn't talked to him a little bit and talked about a little over an hour with him. Great to hear from him. And
Yes.
Hadley's doing good. He said everything is perfect, going well. all of that. So pray for them, Travis and Ricky and Hadley and Hunter and Harper and their families.
Yes.
Hadley goes through this next round of treatments, and God's got it, and God's got them. But their spirits was great, laughing, cutting up how God's got it, and thankful. And again, that's what God is working good out in that. Got the great doctors, other teams come in there to help them that they wasn't going to get. So even in that, God, there's good in that.
He's
that God's
moving
got
behind
that.
the scenes that
That's
nobody
right.
sees.
That's right. So Kelly, what's some things that, and again, I know you battled the stuff. You took care of your dad through his illness and his passing, and your mother, and then her passing and things. And like I said, today's her birthday. You're dealing with that and stuff. And I don't know how that is because both my parents are still living, but still for the good that God's got, but also to make sure that you're walking according to His purpose for you.
Well, it's just keeping my focus on His purpose for me. And the enemy came up against me really bad this morning with it being my mom's birthday. But it's who I serve that gets me through these hard times. I had 2 text messages of people tell me that they were thinking about me today. I had another text message of somebody praying for me and lifting me up before the Lord. And those are the things that get me through. And God has put great people in my path and in my life, and it's amazing what He can do if we will just allow Him to do that and keep our focus on Him.
Yes.
I knew what today it was. I knew it was coming. I thought I would be okay, but this morning it hit me like a ton of bricks. I heard her voice as soon as I got up this morning, and it was difficult. It was really difficult, but in that difficulty, I still know the rejoicing that's going on in heaven is by far better than anything that I could imagine here on earth. She's having a better birthday up there than she could ever have here. And so it's just being stronger and looking to Him to help me through these times and knowing that He has me. He's walking through this with me. He's never left me. He's never forsaken me. And He's just given me all that I need. And I just sometimes have to reach out and do that. And we had this conversation last night a text between me and Katie and Kelsey talking about reaching out and asking for help. Sometimes we just don't want to do it. And Katie did last night, and I was so proud of her because Katie's not one. She's like her mama. She will not ask for help, but she did last night, and I was so proud of her. But that's what we have to do. We have to rely on those people that God has put in our path, that He's put in our life, to lift us up and give us the strength that we need. And they will if we allow them.
Yep, that's right. And again, you've got to know that God is working
Yes,
together.
He is working.
We know that God causes everything. So all these tough times that, like I said, dealing with your mother's passing on her first birthday and the first Christmas. I know that's hard on people because a lot of people that I've done services for their family members, moms, dads, you call them, man, I'm struggling, especially on children, that first birthday and second on passing, really struggle with that, but God is still good despite the bad trying circumstance, and He will cause everything to work together for the good. And every time I read this, I always think back, and I'll never forget that day that I got the phone call that Trey Seward had taken his life, his death by suicide, and got the call, and me and Mark went up to Laura and Jeff's house, and you could just feel the devastation and see it and stuff like that. But then I watched God out of that tragic event. Trey was an outstanding young man, helped, smile, and all of that. But then through that, Laura and Jeff had poured their heart, their finances, their resources into bringing awareness, suicide to families and dealing with that and how to help that and how to bring hope in the darkness. And it's still hard on her. I know every year it's hard to think, and they do the walk for Trey we did on September, was it 9th?
I think it was September 9th.
On that, and a lot of our church folks, I was proud, we had a good group of our church folks that came from the church and the whole community. There's a lot of people that walked the little mile walk that Laura and Trey walked and stuff, and just to bring awareness to all those people that read off names. Unfortunately, there was a lot of new names added this year to it, but to bring hope in that darkness and to bring hope in that despair, that's God causing those things to work together. There's some people that I've dealt with that Laura's given me different things, tracts and resources that I would have never had through that, and I hated that that family has to go through that, or any family with that. But God is still bringing good. There's more awareness now. They've passed some bills that she's pushed through and things. So good's coming out of that.
And she's been able to help people recover from it
yes.
as well.
Yeah, talked to a lot of moms.
She's done amazing. And that's what God does.
Yeah. And she'll tell you it's not her doing it, it's God doing it through her for the strength and causing everything to work good. And then that's, again, and she lost her purpose in life with her son. I can't imagine that deal, or any type of death, which death by suicide, act, whatever. It is sickness. It's just because you're not. That's just not the thing you do. Is have to bury your children. Unfortunately,
Right.
people have to do it every day.
Right.
But God can still cause that. A divorce, a bad relationship breakup, a child that you're on the outs with, or don't know where they are, doing something bad into drugs, or
Right.
just bad relationships, or dealing with toxic people. Those are hard. But God will still, if we'll trust Him. But we got to go back and make sure that we love God first. That God is our centerpiece, and then we're called and we stay with that purpose. And that we're His predestination. We're conformed to be the image of Jesus and do that. But here's the thing that I think that we forget as churches is that the main mission and goal of a church is to reach the lost,
Yes.
and then the hurting those that come within after they're saved to still help them continue to grow and they're not browbeaten. Well, you're saved now and you can't do it. You screwed this up or you shouldn't be doing that. There's a lot of things that we shouldn't be doing. I understand. There's things at times that I lose control of my anger, my frustration. I'm working really, really hard on that and trying to stay calm in the chaos and things like that. But still, we're still flesh. We're born again. We're spirit-filled. We have the power of God. But at times we feed that flesh too much or give it too much place till we hear a voice and we give it too much time in our head. Instead of just telling it to shut up and walk out. I'm learning to do that in some situations and things. I promise you it works. But God will still, even though we miss the purpose or we get off track or we get off the straight and narrow ways or the race that God laid out, know that God can bring us back because His call is irrevocable. He's not going to take. People will try to take it away from you and things like that. I know churches a lot of times, the minister will do something, they just plump, oh, it's horrible, like it's the unforgivable sin, and it's not. I've got some very close friends in the ministry that went through some tough personal times that the churches quit on them, but God did.
And that's not what's supposed to happen.
Nope.
I was very deeply hurt by a church through a situation where they should have had my back and they should have been encouraging and helping and lifting up. And they asked me to leave the church. So
it's tough. And it happens with churches.
That's not how churches should be. We're a hospital for the hurting, for the lost. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to encourage and love on and do what we can. And we're failing at that sometimes. So if we're failing, we're trying. We really are trying.
And we're not the perfect church.
No.
I've never claimed that to be. And dang sure ain't got the perfect preacher here. I promise you that. But I try, my guts out and hard and to hurt, people. I, had the last few weeks setting up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with people. And glad, they keep apologize. You don't have to apologize for that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. That's part of my purpose that God has put in. It's never a chore in me, and preaching, a lot of times guys, well, you're preaching to it. Preaching is easy. That's the easiest, most enjoyable, fun thing that, to do. It's hard sometimes, and I try to lay it all out there, and I'm not saying I'm not tired at the end of 2 services on Sunday, but still that it's the day-to-day wear and tear that you deal with, the complaining and stuff that's really not issues that people try to make issues and things like that. That's a friend of mine, Don Fawcett, that's on Facebook. I was reading some stuff today that he put on there about preachers. Debbie Catwalser shared, if you're friends with her, I know a lot of you people are, about ministers on Facebook today that was from a Baptist deal, which I'm not a Baptist preacher. We're not affiliated with the Southern Baptist Convention. I've got family that are Baptist preachers, but that it hit it head on about what not just the pastors but the church workers had to put up with. They're worried about the toilet not flushing right versus giving them time to come worship on Sunday mornings. And Kelly has it happen to her all the time, trying to sit in there and do. There's time for that after this. Everybody thinks it's the immediate need. The immediate need is to worship. The immediate need is to glorify God and let the Holy Spirit move and deal with the problems in the church. And we forget that at times and want to deal with all these sidebar stuff. And again, it's a learning experience, triumph. We love one another and remember the purpose and our calling is irrevocable. So the call that God's put on your life, go do it for His glory. And remember, your labor in the Lord is never in vain. So God bless y'all. Hope you have a great, great Thursday. Again, thank you for the Fall Festival help. We got more candy in the box today. So thank you guys. You did outstanding on the candy.
We had plenty. Those kids went home sugar high.
Loaded. And still had some for about another week's worth of sugar highs.
So we're going to be able to give it to them again and again and again and again. So thank you all so much. That's the kind of things that overwhelm me, because when we put out a need, you guys meet it abundantly. And that is amazing to me.
Thank you. And here's the next push we're going to do with Thanksgiving coming up. We're going to do some Thanksgiving baskets this year. So if you can start bringing those type of items or turkeys, I know some of y'all win turkeys at the turkey shoots, or your companies or you work for will give you turkey or two. If you don't have need of that or ham,
whichever.
bring
turkey,
those.
ham, we would, covet those to put in these baskets to
Yeah, that would
serve
help
those
us.
who don't have that.
Yep, that would help us. So we're going to be
Yeah.
putting some of those out. So
And we've already gotten some stuff.
Yes,
we've
we
already,
have.
You know, somebody has already sent us a box of stuffing. We have a box of potatoes. We have cranberry sauce. So we've got some
yeah,
stuff.
it's coming in already.
But we want to be able to serve as many people as we possibly can.
Yep. So if again, turkeys and hams will be a big. And,
And
if it's
you
not, don't
know
worry about it.
someone that needs a basket that doesn't want to admit it, doesn't want to ask for help, let us know and we will discreetly get it to them.
That's right. So again, if you can help with that, that
Yes.
is a need on the food. Or at any time, you know, we give out a lot of food. People's by here all the time.
Yes.
That we help with food and things. So if you know somebody that needs some, or if it's you or whatever, if you can just bring a couple cans of green beans, whatever that you've
Yes.
got, or you go to the store, a couple extra here, you know, and 20, 30 people doing that adds up
Yes.
quickly. So we got a place to store it now. It's a great place, so that would be great. But hams, turkeys, Thanksgiving, stuff like that would be great if you guys can help
Sweet
us out
potato,
on that. Sweet
yams,
potatoes,
whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them.
So it's there. If that's coming up, we're
Yes.
we're wrapping up next Wednesday. We'll do our youth kids at
Yeah,
what time?
6:30 to 8 next Wednesday will be youth. There will be no children's, so the buses will not be running for kids at 5 o'clock like we normally do. It'll be youth only. I noticed we had some youth come up last night, and then they got back in their vehicle and left. But children will not have any service next Wednesday.
And our youth kids will be do the hay rides, the game, the petting zoo won't be, of course, for the older kids. And thank you, Zoo, to you with
Yes.
Kaylee and Amber. Y'all did an outstanding
They
job
had a
as
skunk,
always.
y'all. A skunk.
that was cool.
An albino skunk.
Yep. That was
Totally,
a,
I was amazed with
that
it.
was a cool little
Yeah.
skunk, and it was
they're-
friendly. They
yeah,
they
and their
patted
little
kids up.
ferrets are ornery.
Yeah.
That one jumped out of that thing and went to take off, and Wheels chasing after it. It was funny.
Yeah.
I gotta get,
Yeah,
I gotta
they-
giggle out
And
of
those
it.
ferrets are something
Yeah.
else. So,
But it was really
cool.
fun. The
Yeah,
kids
and I
really
had the
enjoyed
goats
it.
there. What else? They have goats,
chickens,
rabbits. That
rabbits.
chicken was cool.
Yeah.
A little hairy-legged chicken. I forget what
Yeah.
they call them, but that was a
don't
cool
have it
deal.
yet.
So if you have a birthday party or event, you want to book them,
Yeah.
you can call the church. Kelly can get you their contact information.
Yes.
They're on Facebook, Zoo to You. They do an amazing, outstanding
really
job on that. They didn't bring the cat. They got a little miniature calf. I don't know
Yeah.
how old it is now. It's maybe an adult cow or steer, whatever. I don't know what that is, but they bring it just being on the concrete stuff. The mess sometimes they make, they didn't want to deal with that. So,
Yeah.
holler at them. They'll be a great addition to your birthday party or event if you need a petting zoo.
And we will be doing a hayride and all of that for
Yeah,
them next
they'll
week
do the
as
hayride
well.
next week with the youth and
We
things
may
like
add
that.
a little
So,
bit to the
yeah.
hayride.
Yeah, we're going to try to add some things. Youth kids will have a little more fun maybe on it. So anyhow, God bless y'all. Remember, it's faith over fear, Christ over crisis, and you can remain calm in the chaos.